In today's episode, we're going to answer the question, how does the nervous system affect my mental health? Most questions I answer are from the perspective of the nervous system, and the answers come from a subconscious part of the psyche and unconscious part of the psyche. These are not things you can actually Google and work out. This will not happen without your curiosity, engagement with yourself. You really need to become a student of your own mind. So I'm doing this in the spirit of this. Enjoy. The truth here is that mental health is the health of the nervous system. So they don't affect each other. Mental health doesn't affect nervous system, and the nervous system doesn't affect mental health. They're actually one. They're one. The idea of separation, it's the idea that actually keeps us stuck. Your mental health, it's an extension of your nervous system. Your brain is an extension of the nervous system. Your body and mind are one. So they're part of the same system. So first of all, that narrative that somehow there's mental health and there's nervous system health, you need to dissolve that and you need to let that go, because that is simply not true. And part of the issue, part of the way we think and conceptualize mental health, and the problem with that comes from the fact that we separate body and the mind. You're not a floating head or a headless body. You are one, right? So first we need to sort of really ground this in the proper narrative, because very often that's the real issue here. People treat mental health as being something separate. It's not. Your brain is attached to your body and it's connected with the biggest nerve of your nervous system is vagus nerve. So if you want to do separate research on that, please do. But when you think about your mental health, think about the nervous system health in general. And try and have a positive narrative about it, because a lot of problems and issues that we face and we are trying to dissolve for ourselves come from the fact that we have a very negative attitude towards our inner experience. We label it, we judge it, we criticize it, and we treat it as something negative. The truth is, you have been through a lot in your life. If you've lived among humans, and I'm going to assume that you have been through a lot. So your body has been through a lot, and your body has learned to function in a particular way, to respond to your environment in a particular way. And as a consequence, your mental health is being created and is a result of your experiences. So we're going to leave the nervous system aside for now, but I want you to think about your mental health as a consequence and an extension of what your nervous system has been through, what you've been through, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, physically. Because human nervous system has certain needs which are very unique to you, some of those. But some of them, they're the same for each one of us, right? Your body has to sleep, has to have nutrition, and a lot of other things. And very often, anxiety or depression come from the fact that that wasn't present to the degree that you needed to have that, right? So it's all about safety and survival for your nervous system. It's all about a rhythm to your life. That very often that rhythm wasn't there, right? So the safety wasn't there. Emotional, psychological, and physical or sexual, right? So that safety, that feeling of, that sense of I'm okay and I'm safe. There were different kind of dangers, threats, stresses in your life. So therefore, if you think about your mental health and your mental health not being the way you want it to be, think about it in the sense that if you've been through a lot, and I'm assuming like everyone has been through a lot to various degrees, then thinking about the fact that your nervous system responds to your experiences, so it's not benign, everything matters. The way you lived, the way you were treated, the way you were provided for, the way you were seen by your parents, and your nervous system is truly programmed in the first, let's say, 15 years of your life. The first years being particularly important. This is where your nervous system learns certain patterns to keep you safe, away from danger, and there are different dangers and the different sort of threats around you. As I said, emotional, psychological, and mental. So your mental health is really a result, is a consequence of your experiences. And think about it, like what other choice your nervous system had other than to become depressed, to become slightly shut down. And obviously intensity of those experiences and your capacity, your sort of temperament, your nature, which is, you know, quite unique to you, then that capacity varies, right? So some of us can go through a lot and stay resilient, but the fact is that majority of us suffer with some kind of mental health issue, whether that is depression or anxiety, right? So think about your mental health as an extension and don't treat it as something negative, right? The fact that you're feeling something, the fact that you are able to connect with the sense in your body and with how your body is really feeling, because you're not feeling that on a cognitive level. You're not, yes, you can sense that you're anxious because you can't concentrate and you catastrophize, etc. But basically it's all about feeling in the body. It's the emotion in the body. So treat it as something positive. You know, nervous system is communicating something with you, and nervous system doesn't have words. It cannot sit you down and say, hey, you know, I want you to do this and that, and I want you to stop doing this and that. It really is about becoming really curious about what your nervous system is trying to communicate when it comes to mental health. And building a picture of what you actually mean when you talk about your mental health. Because again, it's very different for each one of us. We think about definitions, we want to control, we want to understand, but it's a very unique thing. So for example, for me, I know that my mental health is okay when I feel stable, when I spend time on my own and connect with myself, and when I understand my needs and I meet my needs on a daily basis, because sometimes lack of mental health comes from neglecting yourself. And I'm not going to go into, because that's really your job here. It's to become curious and to become the student of your mind, of your mental health and of your nervous system. So I want you to think about it in the broader terms, because that's going to be really helpful. That's what your nervous system really needs. It wants you to notice it. It wants you to stop and ask yourself this very question. What am I trying to communicate here? What am I doing to myself that I feel stressed, anxious, or depressed? Because unless you're a child, which I'm assuming you are not, you do have choices and you can do a lot of things in your environment to be able to help yourself. But for that, you need awareness. And for that, you need focus and attention. Which leads me to my other sort of layer of this, of the answer, which is intention. Don't try and solve everything at once. First, understand the nature of your mental health and try and assess where you are. So what is really lacking? Or what do you define as lack of mental health? So is it you can't concentrate? Is it cognitive? Is it behavioral? Is it physical, right? So try and understand the nature and be very intentional about it. So you really need to focus and isolate all the things that are not relevant to your question, to your question and to the answer to the question, right? So try and go light on yourself. Don't try and solve everything at once. Mental health is a big, big concept, and try and put it into sections. In therapy, we very often compared a short-term therapy to cleaning a house or renovating a house and just cleaning the kitchen cupboards in the house, right? So try and see what's really in the way of your everyday functioning and try with that, because mental health is all encompassing. So when you're suffering, when you have anxiety or when you're anxious constantly, it's really chaotic. So try and think about how you can calm yourself down and then approach yourself from the state of relative calmness. Right? It's very difficult to deal with yourself when you're stressed, and very often you collapse internally, you exhaust yourself. And again, just start small and be intentional, formulate a proper question, and be positive about it, at least neutral. I'm not saying, oh, thank you for my depression or anxiety, but I'm saying this is what it is and try and accept it. So resisting the idea that there's some work to do, it's just going to make the work harder. And a lot of your answers come from being on your own, being curious about yourself, and really asking yourself a single question at the time so you can be really intentional about finding the answer. What calms me down? What motivates me? If you're depressed and you're suffering with lack of energy, lack of joy, you're really numb, then you need to think energy first, because mental health is really about survival state of your nervous system. You go into survival and there's no capacity for anything. So you're really just surviving. You can't think properly, you can't plan ahead, etc. So think about energy, think about calming yourself, and that's very unique. I don't know what resources you have, where you live, whether you can go outside daily, whether you cannot go outside daily. The biggest medicine for mental health and your nervous system is time in nature, is being on your own, right? Which is very difficult. And I mean also the fact that just because there aren't any people around you doesn't mean you live in solitude, because you watch a lot of things, you interact with a lot of things online, and that's also very overwhelming for your nervous system, right? Once you start understanding your nervous system needs and meeting them on a daily basis, not once a week, not when you're in crisis, then everything falls into place and a lot of issues dissolve. Thank you very much. Just to let you know, I have a course about this, which I build based on my private practice about the nervous system. If it's important to you, let me tell you that the course has been untouched by AI. I built it at the time where that wasn't even around. So if you want to check that out, is in a work manual, Mechanics of Mental Health. In the meantime, thank you very much. And remember, never give up on yourself. Thank you.